because I think we have interesting perspectives here. When it comes to the bottom of the market, when do you think the blood is going to be over? Let's start like top left and then work, because we have interesting perspectives here.
Do we have
Oh,
this?
man.
Is a good
one now.
I keep asking that.
Yeah, that's such a hard question to even try and. I mean, if I'm weighing it out, understanding the ramifications of, what's coming with Mt. Gox and watching all the unraveling happening beneath the entire crypto economy, if you want, to the market, as everything kind of implodes. I can't see it being any earlier than August, like end of August kind of thing. I can't see it being any later than end of the year. But beyond that, I don't think I can put a time frame on it. There's too much that's keeps bubbling up that shows that the ripple effect goes far wider than we've expected, or most people have even expected to this point. So I'd say August if we're lucky, end of August if we're lucky, December if we're really unlucky.
Yeah. So I have a couple of things that I'm looking at. So the bottom of the market, we've been in this bear market since May of last year, because the double top doesn't count in my head. Like the most significant top was back in May 2021. I'm a big believer in that. So that's been a year and a half, which is longer than the average bear market that we've had. So with this whole like macroeconomic events kind of environment that we're in, I think. So we have a couple of big events. The Mt. Gox thing is absolutely freaking massive.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everybody said, I think Richard Heart tweeted about this. He's like, okay, even if every BTC of Mt. Gox gets bounced over, OTC, I mean, the order books don't care about who it's selling. If it's like 1 million retail people or like 3 big companies, order book doesn't care. It's the amount of volume going to the order book. So Mt. Gox, the thing I'm scared of when it comes to Mt. Gox is if even 50% of that goes to market and that gets sold, how much more liquidation would that trigger? I think the market bottom will be determined by liquidations, because look at Terra USD. The moment that collapsed, that was absolutely massive on the freaking market. And then liquidation after liquidation and liquidation. Now Voyager is gone, Celsius is gone. I mean, all of these CeFi companies are just wrecked. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Then also another thing I'm kind of looking at is, on average, 100 days before the next Bitcoin halving is usually where the bottom of the market sits as well. So I think that's roughly 300 days from now. That's another one of these things. So there's 4 main things I'm looking at. One, when the Fed stops raising interest rate. Rugged. So the Fed raising interest rates.
I'm still here.
That's a massive one. So that goes until like end of year. Maybe they stop it a bit early because they're completely wrecking the economy. Then you have the fact that we've been in a bear market for a prolonged bear market for a very long time. Then you have Mt. Gox, which is going to trigger a hell of a lot of liquidations the moment that gets flushed out of the system. And then the fact that we're getting very close to a year before the next Bitcoin halving, which is historically very close to a bottom of the market. I mean, the 4 kind of things combined together is like anywhere in like the next 3 to 6 months, I could see a bottom, because we've had so much blood already. That's kind of my take on it.
I'm going to take the contrarian side on this. I know everyone's looking for August. Mt. Gox is supposed to be the event that really maybe creates the bottom, or it leads up to it, as Jake alluded to. I don't know. I don't think it's going to play out quite that way. And just pure speculation here, of course. But I can see the Gox coins, maybe they get sold in a very intelligent way that doesn't cause the bottom. Now, is that good for us? Maybe not. Maybe we want to bottom really quickly, but maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe they don't sell it like crazy. Maybe they hold on to it, or maybe they let it trickle out. So I wouldn't be looking for that to be the cornerstone event to find a bottom in. I was actually just got off a stream with Wells an hour or so ago, and we brought up maybe the Charles Payne interview for Hex, at least. Maybe the Charles Payne interview was the bottom for Hex, at least, not the entire market, but as in the fundamental, of course, not the technical side. So funny enough, and he remarked that he thought the bottom in Hex had been in for a couple weeks, even before that, because it had not went below 3 cents, and it seemed to be holding. People have been selling the crap out of it, and keeps staying there. So a lot of people are looking for 1 cent on the Hex side. I don't know. You may be missing. That may never come back. Who knows? But the broader crypto market, I don't know. I'm going to take the contrarian view and just be like, if everyone's expecting it to happen, maybe that won't be the bottom. I know that's not news anyone wants to hear or believe or look into, but that's my take.
Yeah.
Could be right.
You guys can still hear me, right?
Cool. Yeah.
Yep.
So I tend to agree with you, specifically on if everyone thinks something is going to happen, it becomes less likely for it to happen. And the whole Mt. Gox thing is starting to seem like that because we're not special in knowing this. Like everyone knows this now. All of crypto Twitter knows this. And just because you're going to have a bunch of coins sold off doesn't necessarily mean you can't have a bounce now, a rally now into a level to where if Gox coins dump then, maybe we form a higher low. Like maybe the bottom is already in. That's something people aren't really talking about. And if you look at, for example, I like looking at the yearly candles on Bitcoin. You can even do monthly and see the same thing. But if you do yearly candles or monthly candles on Bitcoin and you look at the top of 2017, the top of 2018, both candle bodies are 13,888. And the wick of 2019 goes to that same level. And so this 13,888 or 14K level seems really, really significant to me. If you do this exact same analysis on Ethereum, it's about $780, I think. And then you ask yourself, well, how close have we gotten to those levels? Well, for Ethereum, we were within 10% or so of that. So whenever your bottom call is within 10% of something that's already happened, it's like, okay, how much more downside risk are you really expecting? You have to ask yourself that. Similar to if you're only expecting a 2x in your bull market or remaining 2x, it's like, well, you already did a few hundred x's and all you're expecting now is a 2x. It's like, well, it's similar in the other direction, in my opinion. And so I don't know, the bottom could already be in. If not, those would be my targets, about 14K BTC, 800 Ethereum. BTC already struck within like 15 or 20% of that. So it's just about what you were saying, RHMaximalist, how, you know, the more people expect something to happen, maybe it's not going to happen. And with the whole CPI news the other day, I think people were expecting a dump with the inflation numbers. And we kind of got a little bit of a pump. We got like a 10% rally on BTC and ETH. So it's like, it's hard to say the bottom's in, especially because like people are calling for 14K, 11K, 10K. And even with Hex, people are calling a penny. But remember back in 2018 when Bitcoin hit, I remember when it hit 3,000 after hitting 20K, right? It took a year for it to hit 3,000. Everyone was calling for $1,000. Literally everyone was calling for 1,000. So hits 3, calling for 1. Sounds a lot like hitting 3 cents and calling for 1 cent. It's like we can go there, sure. But keep in mind, Hex already did a 95% dip, right? Bitcoin had a 95% dip from $30 to $2. Then it went up like 600x or something, 500x. Ethereum dipped from $1,600 to $80. That's 95%. And then it did a 50 or 60x to 5K. Amazon back in the day dipped from like, what was it? Like $5 to like $5.50 to like 28 cents. So 95% dip. And it went on to go to hundreds of dollars. So like Amazon, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they've all dipped 95%. And now it's Hex's turn. And it did it, right? If you look from 56.5 cents all the way down to 2.8 cents where we went, that's exactly 95.03%. Like textbook, 95% dip. So I don't know. Bottom could be in. Maybe it's not, but I don't see more than like another 50% downside risk on most markets. Like if you have one more trap door, one more leg down, maybe 50%. Maybe the altcoins get hit a little harder, like Hex with lower liquidity. Because like down to like 1 cent would be what? Like 67%, 70%. So yeah, either bottoms in or one more leg down is my opinion. But then you ask yourself, are we going to have a V-shaped recovery or are we going to go sideways for a year? Maybe we go sideways for a year. So making a bottom call isn't really that special because you could have an opportunity to capture near or at the bottom for a super long time to the point where it doesn't feel like the bottom. It's just boring.
That's a great point. Just because we bottom doesn't mean it's going to switch into bull. That's a great point. Not a lot of people understand.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, a lot of people think it's going like this, but I don't see that happening, especially in like the macroeconomics. But the thing is also, I try to simplify everything down as much as humanly possible because I believe that the more complex solutions are usually not the right solutions. So I think if we just focus on supply and demand, how much supply is going on the market and how much demand is there? If Mt. Gox happens and so much supply comes on the market, you have miners constantly selling down the price. If you do that math on that, that's a hell of a lot of money. Where is the demand coming from? You have a minus 31% discount on grayscale Bitcoin. Institutional demand is going there. So the demand side is weighing down. It's kept down by like the GBTC discount. Then you have the fact that so much supply is potentially coming on market. I mean, just supply and demand dynamics could kind of say that we do have another leg down. That's the highest probability in my mind.
Yeah, and you brought up another. You reminded me of something. Isn't there a huge pseudo DeFi, CeFi, low key fraudify hedge fund who has like hundreds of thousands of Ethereum ready to be liquidated at like $1,000 or something? If we hit
I've
there.
never heard of that. Interesting.
I think there's a massive like 9-figure position of ETH ready to be liquidated.
Probably more than one even.
There you go. And so it becomes, to your point, like cascading liquidations from there. And so you have that huge downside pressure from both BTC and ETH. So you're right. And the grayscale premiums for both Bitcoin and Ethereum are still down. So those are other great points to indicate that maybe we haven't found our bottom and maybe we do have that leg down.
I try to be cautiously optimistic in pretty much everything in life. But with this market, I'd rather be pleasantly surprised. I don't see a bull this year. I think I tend to agree with Gerardo on this a lot too. It's sideways. I imagine most people on this panel would imagine sideways for a while. It's not going to be hockey stick for the broader market, in my opinion.
Thank you, whoever gave me a nice profile picture. It's way better.
Swag.
Dope. Yeah, what did the last cycle before Bitcoin ran up?
Yeah,
we went sideways for quite a while before it started to get some momentum again. Did it not? I'm going to pull up the chart here on my end real quick just so I can plug my memory here. But I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, that was the case. And I think we saw similar patterns throughout history. So, I mean, I think you guys are bang on with the sideways action before we ever start to go up again. I think that's something to really consider and not get our hopes up that like we get this hockey stick idea in your head, really, that we're going straight up back to the right, because the probability is not in our favor for that.
Yeah, and the reason I say all of these things, and we agree on a lot of the topics, is when you want to get a good entry point into the market, I don't believe in trading. I hate trading, but I do believe in risk-reward ratios for getting a good entry point to then hold. I believe TA is super helpful for that. So with the whole like supply thing and the supply side potentially getting wrecked, who knows? Maybe they do have a system for that for Mt. Gox, which I don't think they do. And then you also have the demand side with the whole like institutional buyers and the GBTC discount. I mean, the risk reward currently is just, it's not like you're going to have a V-shaped recovery and then miss out. It's better to just kind of wait, see if the supply shocks do happen. If they do happen, well, you get a better buy position. I mean, you have time to wait. So I would not start dollar cost averaging in the market. Obviously not financial advice. I would just wait until those events have passed by, and then we have a period of sideways anyway. I don't see the V-shaped recovery. That would be insane.
Well, if we are going to go sideways too, it kind of does make sense that if the GOX is going to have any impact, or any of these events that are coming that are going to have an impact, it's likely that we will see maybe another small dip at best. You know, like I can't see us not being affected by a bigger event like that. So maybe if we trend sideways, we see a little bit lower, but I think it would take a pretty massive event to see us hit a penny, especially like you guys were alluding to, like just with, I mean, you guys see it on Twitter, how many people in polls and just tweets are just calling for a penny's coming. Like any polls that are saying, are we going lower? Are we staying sideways? Everyone's lower. So I think you guys, you know, are bang on the money with what everyone wants. Usually the opposite happens in this case. So I think that logic is pretty sound to me.
Yeah. To that logic, though, it makes me want to play devil's advocate. It makes me want to say, what if we don't go sideways?
Right.
There's a little part of the BTC chart that I feel like it often goes by unnoticed, and that's 2019. We had a run up. Do you guys remember? We had a run up from like $3,100. We just blasted straight through that 6K floor, which TA says is supposed to be resistance. We just blasted right through it, went all the way to 14K, and then just came all the way back down to form like this weird mid-cycle bubble. Sort of like this sort of intra-cycle bubble. So what if the rest of the price chart is characterized by these like 1 year little bubble pops where it doesn't dip 85, 90%, it dips 75%. Because 14K to 4K was about 75%. And we had another weird crazy run up, and then maybe you just dip 75% like we did. And then you have another little, and like you catch people by surprise, because if everyone is expecting the sideways for a year, maybe we do get the V, you know? It's hard to tell. Like if we're all agreeing, that bothers me a little